much.
Beautiful.
Okay, Mr. President, you can begin when ready.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. We are starting the NIAA Fall Board of Control meeting. This is a special meeting, and we are starting it at 10:00 exactly. Before I start into the agenda, Bart, is there anything I need to do prior to starting calling it to order?
No, sir. If you're ready, go right ahead.
All right, we're good to go. All right, thank you. Yes, I want to make this as painless as possible. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. I know this was a special meeting and process to get everyone together quickly, so I want to express my gratitude that everyone is here joining us. Just have some rules. Please keep yourself muted while we're on here, especially during the presenter, while Neil is presenting or any presenter we have when we have these meetings online. Please make sure to introduce yourself when you speak, especially when there's a motion, to make sure that we're keeping track record of anyone speaking and we have the right speaker on record. Please raise your hand physically or virtually, and I will call on you as I see them. My intent is to make sure that everyone needed to speak. So I will go to other board members before I return to the same individual that has spoken once or twice. Just want to make sure that everyone is heard here fairly. So with that being said, we're calling this meeting to order. We're going to the second item on the agenda, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know if anyone else out there has a flag. I have one right outside of my window, so I will go ahead and call on myself at the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, here we go. I pledge allegiance to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, third item on the agenda is roll call.
Okay, Alex Woodley.
Here.
Greg Malkovich.
Here.
Ramona Esparza.
Here.
Chad Hartley.
Here.
Jay Penny.
Here.
Colin McNutt.
Here.
Christina Brockett.
Here.
Lori Woodland. And please note, I will correct the spelling on your name, Lori. I apologize. I think you did it. Speak, but I see you there. Brian Freeman. Rayanne Sorensen.
Here.
Keith Wickerman.
Present.
Dennis Holmes.
Here.
Miles Baldwin. Ken Parker.
Here.
Austin Maya.
Here.
Jan Hayvick.
Here.
Teresa Burrows. I know she's here. Eric Raleigh. I
Here.
see him on as well. Dave Henneman.
Here.
Ellen Hansen. Xavier Infield.
Here.
I'm here. Sorry.
Okay. Anna Rigsby. Sydney Howry. And Nika Straka. Timothy Jackson.
Here.
Neil Romardo.
Here.
Bart Davis.
Here.
Sean Fitzsimons.
Here.
Kate Savoy.
Here.
And myself, Tia Wonder.
All right, thank you. For the record, we do have quorum. Is that correct?
Excuse me for a moment. I was muted. I'm Lori Woodland, and I don't know if my name was called or not.
It was. I marked you as present, and then I also apologize for the misspelling on my roll sheet, so we'll get that done.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President, we do have a quorum, yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, so moving forward, fourth item on the agenda is announcements. I do not have any at This time, Mr. Executive Director, do you have any announcements?
No, not at this time.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 5 on the agenda, public comment. Tia, do we have any public comment?
So I'm gonna go ahead and read that excerpt for you if you'd like. This time provides an opportunity for citizens to address the board about any matter not on the agenda. Items raised during this portion of the agenda cannot be deliberated or acted upon until notice of procedures and open meeting law have been complied with. Should a member of the public wish to speak on a matter not listed on the agenda, it is asked said person please complete a yellow public comment card and submit it to the president before the opening of this item. A limit of 3 minutes per person and or 5 minutes for the spokesperson or particular group may be imposed. It is requested that comments be directed to the board as a whole. Comments that are determined to be irrelevant, repetitious, offensive, inflammatory, willfully destructive, or deemed to be personal attacks will not be permitted. At this time, I do not have anyone in the office, nor do I have any emails.
All right, thank you very much, Tia. We're going to move on to action items number 6 on the agenda. Discussion and action to adopt a process for hiring the NIAA Executive Director. This item is for possible action. I will now defer to our legal counsel, Mr. Neil Lombardo, who will explain the process and timeline for hiring the NIAA Executive Director.
Morning, everyone. I hope your summer is off to a good start. And I know, at least for me, this was interesting that legal counsel was responsible for the executive search. So I was able to model this search after some advice that I had given to the Washoe County School District in the past. But I do want the board to recognize that this is beyond my it's beyond my legal scope, but I have helped and assisted in executive searches like this with the Washoe County School District and in my past in Carson City. So what I did do is I reached out to a good friend of mine who is the chief of the Human Resources Department for the Washoe County School District. His name is Doug Owen. Doug is currently, and actually you voted for him to be the last meeting, the Northern Nevada, let me make sure I get this right, officials commissioner for soccer for the NIAA. And so I reached out to Doug and I said, Doug, I'm going to need some help on this. I don't know how to do an executive search. Would this interest you? He said, no problem. I'll do it for free. I'm a big supporter of youth sports. As you know, I coach soccer. I am an official in soccer, and I'm an official for the NIAA. And I said, awesome. Thanks, Doug. So Doug brings a wealth of HR experience to this process. He and I worked over the weekend. I know that you got the support materials yesterday. We did the best we could do. We were creating these from past support materials. We wanted to make sure that they met what we wanted to see in these documents. And so we spent time together over email to create what we produced here. So what I'm going to ask for is either we do one sweeping motion or multiple motions. I don't really have a preference either way. But what I would like to do is I think it might be best to present and then ask questions at the end. If that meets your desire, President Woodley, that would be, I think, the best way to go. Does that work for you?
Yes, absolutely. I'd like you to, I don't want to interrupt the flow of your presentation. So I would prefer that we just get the whole shebang and then we can ask questions following.
Great. Okay. So as all the members should have received the support materials yesterday. And so what I'd like to do is walk through those support materials. So if somebody could place on the screen the memorandum that I sent yesterday with the process and timeline on it. I don't know if I have screen control. So could somebody help me with that?
You should be able to share, Mr. Lombardo. If you hit share
Okay.
at the bottom, you should be able to share your screen. I do not have those materials, or I would share them.
President Woodley,
Okay.
just I don't think I got them either. Did anybody get what Mr. Lombardo was talking about?
I did
sent
not
over-
receive anything.
I sent over the support material yesterday.
Neil, I'm gonna forward them over to Bart. Bart, I'm gonna send them to you.
Copy. We'll let you know when I get them.
Okay, I would rather not manage the sharing on the screen. So Bart, if you can do that, that'd be great.
We'll do.
And then I don't know how to resolve the board members not. Do we want to send copies to all the board members so they can look at them on their computers, or do we want to just pop it up on the screen?
I think for now we can pop it up on the screen and we can all look at it while you speak.
Sure.
And we'll get those materials out to everyone as well. We'll just
I
use
will forward them on to everyone as well as I send them to Bart.
perfect.
So we'll take a quick minute if that's okay, Mr. President.
Yeah, absolutely.
President.
Yeah. I think this the fact that we're going to save time with you just going straight through the presentation, I think that'll more than make up for this little bit of time that it takes to get this up here.
I
It'll
agree.
be a lot smoother.
I agree. And I think I can fill this dead air time with some discussion about the thoughts on the process. And then when it pops up, it'll make more sense. So basically what I did is I asked Doug, I said, what's a reasonable search criteria for an executive director? What's a reasonable timeline? What should this look like? And he and I compared notes on past superintendents that we worked to hire at the Washoe County School District. I was a large part of hiring 3 superintendents and bringing back an interim superintendent at the Washoe County School District. I also assisted in the past on hiring executives throughout Washoe County School District and in Carson City. So we developed this together, and what we did is we worked on creating a timeline that would allow for more applicants. We know that the last application process, the NIAA only received 2 applicants. I think you were very lucky to find somebody with the qualities that Tim brought to this, with only 2 applicants. So we are trying to increase the application pool. So the search is going to be longer than, or we're recommending, you have to vote on it. We're recommending a longer search than was done in the past. The search in the past was only 2 weeks. We're recommending a full month. We're also going to, and I'll just keep going until this document pops up. Okay, there it is. Great. Thank you. So let me just go through the document and we'll go there. The first thing that I'd like to do is I would like the board to recognize again that Rombardo Legal Services doesn't really have in its contract that it does HR searches. Again, willing to do it. We have the volunteer Doug Owen, who I introduced to you earlier. Mr. Owen is working today, so he's not on this call. He's working at the school district. He is doing this on his off hours, just so everyone knows. What I do want, and I indicated this to the board president and board vice president yesterday and to Mr. Jackson, is some type of rider on my contract that says, the board's going to recognize that I don't do executive searches. I'm willing to facilitate this through myself and Mr. Owen, and I want at least some type of indemnification or hold harmless. If an applicant accuses us of anything, I want it to fall under NRS 41, which is your indemnifications that apply. So I'll write that up. The second part of this is step 2. We're going to keep applications that will remain confidential until the finalists are identified, consistent with public records and open meeting requirements. Step 3, Rombardo Legal Services LLC with Mr. Owen will conduct a minimum qualification screening, reference check, and background reviews. So basically, that's a standard HR operating procedure. When you have an HR department, which unfortunately the NIAA does not have, resumes come in, applications come in, they're screened by the HR department before they're sent to the hiring supervisor, and they're screened for just the basics. Did this person submit the proper materials? does this person meet the minimum qualifications? Does this person pass the reference check? You call the references that are given. And then does this person pass the background check? Presuming that all of those very objective standards are met, the name then gets forwarded to the board for review. And the other thing, so let me jump down to step 4. Step 4, I would like each board member to submit a question. I have 10 questions that were used from the past. Doug and I have been going through those questions. They're quite lengthy. I also don't know if 10 questions are absolutely necessary. And so what we were hoping is that each member would submit some questions to us. We'll go through them, make sure that they're legal, that they apply to federal law, that they comply with NRS, that they comply with the NAC, and that they comply with your human resources standards. All of that is necessary to avoid liability. And so what we'd like to do is have everyone submit one question to me. I'll share them with Doug. Doug and I will work on those questions. We'll build them out into, we'll get the language down. And then what I do strongly suggest, though, is that you only ask probably about 7 to 8 questions. I have a feeling if all 12 of you submit something, there's going to be a lot of overlap. So it'll be easy to get down to the 7 or 8 questions. So once we have that objective review, I probably should have put number 4 a little later in the list. That made that a little choppy. I apologize for that. Anyway, once we get done with the minimum qualification review, those candidates will be forwarded to the board for an initial review. What I recommend at this step is that if you have more than 4 candidates, 5 to 10, or however many candidates come forward that meet those minimum quals, you do a weeding out process at the board. What does that look like? The board only receives the documents of these. Let's just say, for instance, you get 8 applicants. You go through those 8 applicants and you vote on the 2, 3, 4 that you want to interview. I would not recommend doing more than 4 interviews in public. It becomes really long. The public loses interest in the public meeting. And these, at least in my experience in representing public entities for many years. And so I really have always tried to recommend you keep it to 3 to 4 applicants. Just for instance, to back this up, we hired a professional search consultant for superintendents a few years ago for the Washoe County School District, and they had the same advice, 3 candidates. So that would be my suggestion there. If we don't get enough candidates in, then we would just skip steps 5 and 6 and go right to step 7, which would be final interviews in an open meeting. Again, I'm suggesting if you receive 4 or less applicants, we skip 6 and 7, or 5 and 6, excuse me, and go to step 7. Then once the board votes to select somebody, step 8, the board authorizes a designee from the board. Usually that's the board president and sometimes board vice president to work with me to negotiate the employment agreement with the selected finalist. And then the board would approve that contract. Step 9, not really a step, but it's more of a note. Applicants should not be contacting you directly about this position. Once it's posted, they should be contacting me. And the reason why we want to avoid contacting you is because anything that you guys do related to NIAA is a public record. So, for example, if they were to email you at your school or email you at a public email, President Woodley, maybe through your Washoe County School District trustee account. I'll use you as an example if you don't mind. That's a public record, and that could be seen by other candidates as being biased. So once we post this, they should be communicating with me. Then the proposed timeline, I apologize for the chart on the footer there. I had a heck of a time getting that to cut and paste correctly. This was created by Doug, so it's not exactly how I want to present things, but I needed to get this done for you all. So anyway, moving forward. So today we hold our special meeting on the 20th, which is Monday. We'll post the announcement and the recruitment will begin to open. I do want to point out that I did talk to Tim and Mr. Jackson, the executive director. Mr. Jackson indicated that the board does have a budget related to board issues. I did ask Doug how much it would cost to do a search, meaning posting on websites and publications and those things, and he estimated no more than $2,000. Tim indicated that your budget would be able to handle that with no problem, but I thought it was just wanted to let you know. So that would be part of this announcement and recruitment process. Bart, if you could move it, or whoever's controlling the screen. Oh, page 2.
We have a little preview issue. Let me download this and
Okay,
see if we can get to page 2.
great.
So if I can interject really quick while we're waiting for page 2, Mr. Rombato, could you please express our gratitude to Mr. Owen?
Absolutely.
I mean, this is a heavy lift whenever you're looking for an executive director, and for him to offer to do it for free during his off time, that's deeply appreciated for us because, as we all know, we don't have a huge personnel budget or operating any HR budget for that matter. So we deeply appreciate him stepping forward, and knowing that he is also a commissioner. That's stands out even more, shows his dedication to our kids and our organization. So express our gratitude.
You bet. I will do that. And I also want to be clear, and I probably, if I didn't make this clear earlier, because I don't think I did, when I said I'd like a rider to my contract, I'm not asking for any more money from the NIAA. I just want the insurance protection because this is a little out of my scope. That's all I was. So just so you know, I should have mentioned that earlier.
No, that makes total sense. That makes total sense. Thank you.
Thank you. So then we have an application deadline of August 17th. That's approximately 30 days. I do recognize that that's after Mr. Jackson departs, but I do think it's important to at least have a robust period as opposed to what was done in the past. Then on August 18th and 28th, this is just basically re-explaining. This is our timeline for what I explained as the 9 steps above. The consultant will review the applications and determine the candidates meeting the minimum qualifications. We'll do the background reference and credential check during that time as well. And then for the recommended, so September 9th and September 16th, those are the 2 that would relate to the above number 5 and 6. These might not be needed. They might be needed. I just, we don't know the answer to this, but let's presume we get 5 or more candidates. We'll forward those recommended candidates to the board. The board will review those candidates and announce the finalists that they want to interview. Presuming that those don't occur, then this September 30th timeline would move up, right? Does that make sense to everyone? I hope it does. And so, if we got 4 or less applicants, we could be doing the final interviews on September 9th, or we could wait to the board meeting that's already scheduled in September. It's up to really President Woodley by our policy and statute, our reg. But moving forward, September 30th or October 1st, around that time frame, we would interview the finalists. You would deliberate and select. We would hopefully get the employment agreement signed within a week, get the employment agreement approved, and the executive director would begin on November 2nd. Look, that could be much quicker. That could obviously be October 14th if we can get a special meeting together. I'm just trying to build in reasonable timelines because I was always taught to under promise and over deliver as opposed to vice versa. So I don't want to make promises that we can get this done by September 1st. And I want to be reasonable here. So I'd rather, again, make this timeline longer and deliver quicker. So that's my game plan. And that's my hope. But again, we don't know what's going to come in and we don't know what there's going to be. So that's the process and that's the timeline. And that's what I'm recommending that the board does. We did do this again. I just want to share it one last time. And I know I sound like a broken record. I apologize. We did something very similar in Washoe for both the appointment of trustees and for selecting superintendents. And I think it went pretty well, and I'm sure President Woodley can attest to that as well. It goes pretty well, especially when you have these numbers of, hey, 5 or more, we're going to do it, weed them out this way, and if it's 4 or less, we'll just interview them all and be done. Speaking of which, I did mention this above. The questions, I do not want to bring the questions back for a vote because that gives the candidates a preview and allows them to prepare on how to answer. So again, I'm asking that you all submit to me your own question, not as a group, because I don't want to violate the open meeting law. Each one of you just send me. So I'll have 12 different emails from each of you. Send in your question, and then Doug and I will form those into 6 or 7 questions. And then, President Woodley can decide who's going to ask the questions because it's his job by the open meeting law and by the rules of parliamentary procedure to decide how meetings operate and or run. So I think that would be the best way of doing that so that we do not tip our mitt, to use a baseball term, since we are the NIAA, of what questions are going to be asked. So moving on to, I see Mr. McNaught has a question. Do you want me to take that right now, President Woodley?
I want to wait till you're done, Mr. Rombardo, and then we can. Then we have the ability to see everyone on the screen, and then we can reach out to each individual board member.
Great, Bart. If you could put up for me now the document that is the announcement of. I think it's the announcement of vacancy is the name of it, if I recall correctly. Let me. Okay, so this is the announcement of vacancy that the NIAA used last time around. I'm not recommending any changes. I did catch a couple of typos that I fixed. Punctuation stuff and small errors. If you go down, Bart, if you would. Actually, just stop right here for a sec. Sorry. All of these responsibilities, for the most part, are listed in the NAC. Some are with more detail in the NAC. So I didn't feel it necessary to change any of these. If we can go down to page 2, please. And so page 2 is the one where the rubber hits the road, if you will. In the past, we've always, or I shouldn't say we've always, Bart educated me on this. In the recent past, we required a master's degree in education, administration, or the equivalent thereof, 15 years experience in high school, athletic association, that type of thing. Doug and I are recommending to cast a broader net, that you don't limit it that way. That's not required by law. And, I think the thing that's important to remember is we are a quasi-governmental nonprofit agency. So there are those who are qualified to do this position that may not have that specific background, those specific backgrounds. So what we did so you can read those for yourself, but in 3 and 4, we said it's desirable that you have those type of certificates and experience, but it's not required. And so we thought that this allows us to cast a bigger net and allows more applicants to apply for the position. Keep in mind, it's my understanding, and if anybody wants to give historical background, they can, but I do know that last time you only had 2 applicants, and you don't get a lot of applicants for this position. So again, it goes back to my theory of I'd like to under-promise and over-deliver. And in my effort to do that is I'm going to try to get you more than 2 applicants because I think an executive director position of this nature is important. And Doug and I think it's important, and we want you to have the best chance to get as many people as possible qualified for this position. So that's why we're recommending a rewrite of this. And so that, if you look on there, just so everyone understands red lines, I'm sure you all do, but maybe some people in the public, or maybe some people don't. Doug and I are suggesting this new language, which is the red, and then all the stuff crossed out is what's removed from the old announcement of vacancy for this position. And if you can keep sliding down, Bart, please. And then all of this remains the same. Page 3, please. The only thing I have on page 3 that we might want to discuss or not, in the past, we required a completed application form. I'm not really sure that's necessary. This is a professional position. I know for me, I always found it odd. For example, when I applied at my past position at the school district, I had to fill out an application for the chief general counsel position, which is kind of odd, especially because it was asking about my teaching experience because it was a standard application, right? So I don't know if you want that. If you want it, we can leave it in. We have a past application. If you don't, then we'll take that out. But what I do want you to recognize is these are the objective things that Doug and I will look for when people submit their application, which is going to be a letter of interest, an application form, if you all choose to keep that, a resume, 3 current letters of recommendation, copies of transcripts and certificates from all undergraduate and postgraduate institutions. I mean, I actually find that odd. So that could be another one that we might want to get rid of, and or any relevant documents of certificates, certifications, degrees, and licenses. I don't know why you necessarily need a transcript if somebody has the document of certification. I have a law degree hanging on my, well, I did have one hanging on my wall. I have a law degree. What do you need to know my transcripts for? It seems kind of odd. I think it would be more important to have somebody's work history. So I probably should have highlighted 5 as well. I have to be honest, that kind of came to me as well. I was talking that out. I did recommend crossing off the last sentence. We've already established that. I don't want to be too redundant in these things. I'm recommending that all applications come to me as your consultant. I will share those with Doug. I don't want to bother Doug too much because, again, he's volunteering and I do at least have a contract with you all. So what I would do is have them all come in. I could do the first initial review, share them with Doug, share with him my thoughts to speed things up. That would be my game plan. So that's the announcement of vacancy. I would ask that maybe as board members, you hold in the back of your mind that we might want to change that application procedure at number 2 and 5. That would be my recommendation. But this is what you did in the past. So I wanted to present it to you. I do highly recommend, however, that you allow us to change the minimum requirement language above on page 2. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about, actually, that's all I need votes on. In case, Bart, do you have the executive director application?
I do not.
Okay, I apologize. My tech savvy is
It's
not
linked in that
great.
document, Neil, that you
What's
put
that?
out. It's linked in that document that you put out. There's a link, I think, directly
okay.
to it, and I was able to print it out, so it might be the easiest way to find it.
Awesome. Thanks, Keith. I appreciate that. Let me try this way. Let me try this. And if this doesn't work, don't be surprised. Share. Okay. Can you all see that now? No, you can't see my screen.
Yes.
Yes, you can. Okay. That's the executive director application. And I just don't know what it adds, but if you guys want it, that's fine by me. Have you ever failed or refused to fulfill a contract entered into with your employer? Have you ever had a degree, diploma, credential, or certificate denied, revoked, or suspended? Have you ever been dismissed or resigned from a position of immoral or unprofessional conduct? I think these are all things that we would be able to figure out through a background check. And if you want to keep it in there, I'm fine with that too. I don't have a dog in that fight, if you will. So that's the process that we're recommending. And when I use the plural, this is Doug and I. And I do want to share one last thought that Doug had before I open it up for questions. There were 8 questions that were prepared from the past, and I went over this very fast, so I want to be a little more explicit. Both Doug and I felt like the questions were too long, too cumbersome, and not the best. And I don't want to disparage the past. We just think we can do a little bit better job. And so we are not recommending that those questions get used. We might build those into the next proposed questions. There are some concepts in there that are good, but we felt like they were a little much. And so that's why we're not recommending those. So that's all I have. I do have those questions. If you want to see them, I can put them up on the screen if you want, but we're not recommending those. So that's what we're recommending. That's the process we're recommending. And we're looking for a board vote either on all of it at one time, or if you want to break it up in pieces, that's up to President Woodley.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Lombardo. We appreciate it. Before I start going to our board members for questions, I just want to state for the record that it was an impromptu meeting. This was a special meeting. Like I stated before, we don't have an HR, and we are a small organization, 3 or 4 employees. So perfection was not expected. So the presentation was just right. So don't feel bad about that, and we appreciate it. This was a quick turnaround. I think the actions that we're actually taking is much more important than the presentation of perfection. So thank you for that. So with that, we're going to move forward. I have a list. I saw some hands. We have some hands up already. So I'm going to start with Mr. McNaught, please.
Thank you, President Woodley. I agree. I would second Mr. Lombardo. Thank you for putting this together. I mean, we hired you like, I don't know, 6 months ago, and are throwing you now into a executive director search. So I appreciate that. Thank you for the work.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great starting point. I have a couple of thoughts, questions. One, I know, Alex, that doesn't come as any surprise to you, but I am wondering on the timeline if Neil, is there an opportunity for us to land the interviews on our scheduled board meeting, which I think is September 20th or something, right around there, just so we don't have to set up another in-person meeting and pay for all of the travel for everybody, etc. Do you think that would be an appropriate modification to the timeline?
I think we could definitely effort to do our best to meet that timeline. That did come to me, and Doug created the timeline, and he didn't know that we already had that meeting scheduled. And I had thought about it after I created this document. So yeah, I think we can try to make that.
Just about.
And I like your idea of not having to call everyone back together. We're already in person, so we could effort for that. Sure.
Okay. That would be my first ask. I think that I would be interested in the board's opinion on a committee to review the applications as opposed to just putting this all on our legal counsel. So I would just be wondering what if we think we had done that last time, if I remember correctly. We had a committee and we selected that committee, and they met, and I think it was under a quorum, obviously, so it wasn't I don't remember exactly how we did it, but I remember there was a committee. So that might be a thought. I would be in favor of that. And then I actually, Mr. Lombardo, think that the questions should be a conversation for the group. And the reason why, I get what you're saying, but I think as soon as we ask the first board member, the first applicant, the questions in a public meeting, the rest of them have a little bit of a head start on the questions, in theory, right? So why not just give them all the same head start? And I think that's what we did last time as well. So I'd be supportive of that in this conversation as well. I do have, I think like just, I'm going to focus on timeline for now, President Woodley. I do have some thoughts on like the application, I mean, the description. And then I do have, let me just ask this one other question. And this is somewhat unrelated. Maybe it's related. I don't know. Mr. Lombardo, is this an opportunity or a space where we should talk about a interim to cover this like gap that we're going to have, which I'm fine with. I agree we should take time, but is this agenda item broad enough for that, or do we need to do something at a different time?
Yeah, you can't appoint an interim, but you could discuss whether you think one's necessary, because I think that is part of the process, right? While this is vacant, I'm good with that, but you would have to put that person's name on an agenda. We could do it. I mean, I know we don't want to do a ton of special meetings, but that's how these things go when you have this. So if you did want to do an interim, we could do another special meeting to appoint that person before August 1st in the next couple of weeks. I mean, that could take 10 seconds. I mean, or not 10 seconds. That's an exaggeration. President Woodley, may I address a couple of those things?
Yes, please.
Mr. McKnight, you are correct. I did look at the past process, and I did speak with my predecessor, Mr. Anderson. He did say that there was a subcommittee, but he also told me because there was only 2 applicants, they just forwarded the 2 applicants. And I said to him, how are you going to get around the open meeting law? And he said, well, the subcommittee has to comply with the open meeting law. And so that's going to slow us down. So to me, we're trying to meet the September 20th timeline. I'm just a little worried about that slowing us down. But if the board wants to do a subcommittee, of course, we can make that happen. It would just have to be an open. Regarding the questions on the applicants, what I've always advised in the past, and this works well, is that all the applicants go, staff takes them to a separate room. They can't watch the meeting. If they try to watch the meeting on their phone, then the board should hold that against them, because those are the rules that you've created to make sure that there's confidentiality and that no one receives an unfair advantage. So that's how we've done that in the past for those positions, and that's what I would recommend here. I didn't get into quite that specific nuance, so that's my fault, and I should have answered that question for you ahead of time. But that's how I would recommend you do it, and that's why I don't have questions for you to vote on today. We could bring that back at another time if you decide you guys want to vote on them. But to avoid giving, again, using the phrase tipping the mitt, if we don't want to do that, you all submit to me, we'll cobble them up. Doug and I will get 7, 6, 7, 8 questions together for you. And then when the applicants come in to interview, the first applicant goes, the other 2 or 3 wait in another room, and they don't get that advantage. That's how we avoid it.
Yeah. Okay. So President Woodley, it would be my request that we focus on the timeline first, and then we talk about the actual position and qualifications, et cetera. So I will hold my questions about the other part of it. Let other people speak. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. McNaught. Between Mrs. Sparza and Mr. Whipperman, I'm going to go ahead and say ladies first. Mrs. Sparza, please.
Thank you, President Woodley. I appreciate you as a fellow trustee. I'm newest, one of the newbies on the team. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of this process. I am very familiar since we went through a superintendent search ourselves this past couple years. So I just really thank Mr. McNaught, because I had one big question was the gap, like the interim, and I didn't think it was an agenda item. So thank you for clarifying that, Neil, if you don't mind me just using first name. The other kind of were covered, but I just want to clarify the actual questions. You said there were 8 from the past. Is it permitted for you to share that with us as members via email? I only ask that because if you're saying they're not, which I am trusting, the judgment of you and whoever reviewed that, is maybe we need to either come up with better ones. I don't want to ask that question, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
Or want to revise it, so we can have that legally to review.
Yep, absolutely. I'll send them to the entire Actually, I'll send it to the entire board. They're public record anyway. So yeah, of course, no
Right.
problem. Yep.
Just faster if I have it from, okay. And then the application form, I'm curious because why, and I just perused it just because it was not, we just got it a minute ago. So curious, maybe some historical context about, and maybe our executive could tell us like some of the questions on there, why would we need to maybe consider having that form maybe included on the application process? Because there were certain questions that were maybe very pertinent to the role. And if not, that's where I'm landing, where I want to review that form of why we should maybe consider keeping it or not. Thank you.
Are you looking for me? This is Tim Jackson. Are you looking for me to answer that, Mrs. Farley?
Yes, please, Mr. Jackson. If there are questions on there that are pertinent to the role that we should know in our selection process.
Bart, can you put those questions back up? I'm be honest with you, I don't have them in front of me right now. I don't remember.
It was Mr. Lombardo that shared that form.
Oh, yep, I can do that.
Okay, thank you, Neil. I apologize.
No problem.
I'm trying to find it too, so.
I still have the same technical difficulties though, so give me a second.
I got you, Mr. Lombardo.
Oh, okay. I think I got it up already though. I think I beat you.
Oh, you did.
Yep, you're good.
Neil, you want to take it down deeper?
Yes. Let me know.
Yeah, keep going. Keep going. I'll start with number one. I don't think that's a difficult question. I don't think that's actually necessary. I think that the one thing that I learned rapidly was the best people doing the best part of their job. So I don't think you need this question anymore at all. This right here, I think, is very important. I think the knowledge of what's going on in the state of Nevada, ability to display that information may be important, but it also could be asked during the interview process itself. If they come in prepared, they would have this answer at their hand because they should know what's going on. So to me, that's a toss-up. I think the first one, I don't think you need at all. I think the second one could be either adapted or removed and simply put into the interview process itself.
And I should mention if the board wants to keep the application but wants to make changes to it, we can do that too. So.
Thank you. Yeah, like I said, I didn't know if there was anything that really maybe we need to consider with the form because it could weed or vet through candidates that are not qualified for the role of the position. So I appreciate you saying that I just feel like I need time to look at the docs and really give some feedback. So I know, Neil, maybe I don't know how you're going to do this, like you said, as piecemeal, but maybe that is a consideration to make the process more expedited as well, is us giving some feedback on that form if we so choose to use it, that maybe we'll update it and really help with the vetting process. I just have found like even it's a large job this individual will be doing, and I think it's important to match up to current times. So thank you for indulging and giving me grace as a new member.
Thank you, Mr. Sparza. So we're going to move forward to Mr. Whipperman.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. First of all, again, thank you, Neil, for the work that you're doing that I know is kind of outside of your scope. Quick welcome to some of the new people. I know we don't have a chance to meet you all today because we have a lot of stuff, but I thank you and welcome to the new members of the board. Couple thoughts. So I think this has been answered. So this search will be national, correct, Neil? The search will be national. It's not just limited to Nevada. It will be a national search.
Yeah, I think Doug and I's goal is to use, I don't necessarily want to say this, we're definitely going to use this product, but things like Indeed or wherever you would get it out so that those who want to apply could see it, right? We'll have to figure that out. I think one of my thoughts that I shared with Doug was going to what is the National Federation of High School Sports that we attended, Tim,
NFHS?
that they're, yeah, those guys and that type of thing. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Just my opinion, I like the application, even if we make some adjustments to it. I like, for me, I like to be able to see some stuff and maybe a question, a written question or two on there that just gives you some sense of the person, gives them some skin in the game. So I do like the application. Obviously, the group can give their input on that. Neil, I'm curious your thoughts on, so you took some of those minimum requirements off about like ability to communicate and those types of things. I'm curious why you thought you would take those off. I'm just curious what your thought process was there.
So arbitrary, right? I mean,
Okay.
you know, ability to communicate. You guys are going to decide if they're a good communicator when you interview them, right? So
Okay.
it seemed, yeah, just some of
Okay.
those seemed kind of mundane. I don't want to sound rude, but
No, you're all right. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. My last question is going with the national search, and this is a question maybe for the whole group. I see that our salary range, I think, is from 120 to 150. When I look nationally, the salary range seems to be a little bit higher than that nationally. If that's something we should consider, and can we consider that? It wasn't necessarily on the agenda, but is that something that has to be agendized to have a conversation about? Or are we allowed to have that conversation as a board?
well, look, I think it's part of the process of,
I do too.
yeah,
I
think
but
it's part of
legally,
the
I want to make
process.
sure.
Yeah.
Again,
I-
looking at what the nationally, I think it's like maybe 150 to 200 is the average that I was able to find. And currently we're, I think, like I said, I think we're 120 to 150 is what we've put aside in the negotiation. So just certainly worth at least a conversation. And I'll yield back my time. Thank you, Mr. Rombardo, and thank you, Mr. Woodley.
Thank you, Mr. Whipperman. Looking
President
at the
Woodley, can I
screen-
address that real quick?
Yes,
On the,
yes, please.
what I think if the board decides they want to put out an announcement with a higher salary on it, we should come back at the next either special meeting or board meeting, the next time this group meets, and vote on that as part of the budget, because it is a budget consideration, right? So but I still think that's consistent with the open meeting law. We said this is we're trying to adopt a process. The announcement is clearly part of the process, and that number is on the announcement. And I didn't change it because I don't have the authority to change it. So I just kind of let that go. But if the board wants
Your
to,
legal opinion, Neil, is that we would have to agendize that at a special meeting if we were going to change that because it's in the budget in a certain way now.
I think you can put the announcement out now and then come back and say, we are changing the budget. But you can't, if you're going to put the announcement out and offer 150 plus, you can't then consider the budget item next time and say, oh, never mind, we want to keep it at 120. That would, right?
No,
'Cause
I
now
understand
we're-
that, but
Yeah.
that's what I heard
Yeah.
you say, though. We would have to, we could put it out, but we'd have to have another meeting to budget
that would,
meeting. So we kind of have to agree now informally that we're going to do that. And then the next meeting, we would formalize the budget. I understand then. Thank you,
Yep.
sir.
yep, you bet.
All right, thank you, Mr. Whipperman. Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Neil, I echo what's been said. Very well done and very much appreciated. And a thank you to your to Doug as well. A lot of work and a lot of time put into HR law. Somewhat of an echo to some of the things that have been said, but I think scrapping the previous questions is a wise idea. The landscape of the NIAA has changed significantly in the last couple of years, and I think we need to adjust accordingly to the times. And I think we have some good global thinkers out there that will come up with 9 or 10 pertinent questions to best serve the students of Nevada. I agree with the majority of the documents and the proposals that you've brought forward. Again, I think you put a lot of time and thought into this. Appreciate that. I too would echo Mr. Whipperman's concern. I think the salary range is quite low. I didn't go so far to do any research, but I personally would see this at a starting range of at least 150,000. And I'll say it, even though it's on the record, I think even that's low, but that's my own opinion. I also find an extreme amount of desire to find some interim leadership. And so I think for the board to move in that direction that's a very wise and very necessary move as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have at this point. Thank you.
The only thing
Right,
I
thank
would
you, Mr.
recommend,
Holmes.
the only thing I would recommend on interim leadership is if one of the current staff members wants to apply, it's probably not best for that person to put them in the interim position. They should be able to start under their own authority, if you will, or as their own executive. And so that would be my only recommendation. I think the interim is probably a good idea, and I will own a mea culpa in that I should have thought of that and put it on the agenda, and I didn't. And so I own that. That's on me.
No problem. All right, do we have any other comments? I'm looking at the second page. Don't see any hands up. Any questions or comments from anyone else? I think Mr. McNaught, did you want to return? I think you said you made a statement that you wanted to wait for give the opportunity for the other board members to speak, and then you might have something else.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, the salary was my question, and it was a conversation about like, I think we should agree to the process first, and then secondarily, then agree to the announcement of vacancy and the expectations would be my ask on this, just so it was like, just to separate those two things out.
Sounds good. Thank you. Mr. Jackson, do you have anything that you want to share or any comment?
No, I just want to thank the staff as we've put into place a transition plan to make sure there's nothing dropped. We're meeting on a regular basis, going over everything to make sure that the rollout for the start of the year is smooth. But whoever the interim is, if there is an interim or not, I have the confidence that the staff is prepared and moving in a great direction.
I see some hands up. Ms. Brockett, I'm going to go to you first because I haven't heard from you.
Thank you, President Woolley. And thanks, Mr. Rombardo, on all your work again in this process. And thank you, Mr. Jackson, to all your work over the past years leading the NIAA. It's not an easy job, not an easy job at all. And it's hard to find a really, really good candidate. So I'm glad we're having this conversation. My question for you, Mr. Rombardo, is I know that the agenda item says the discussion and action to adopt a process. And when we were talking about the interim and we're talking about timeline being a part of the process, could there be an adjustment to the timeline to add in like somebody, and it could be, as mentioned already, current NIAA staff will serve as an interim, be added into that timeline, even though it doesn't say within the agenda item, and discuss an interim, executive director.
That is a great point. I think we could add that into the timeline, the selection of the person under NRS 241. I want to say it's around 0355, somewhere in that area. It requires that anybody who serves as a public officer must be appointed by the public body in an open meeting with their name on an agenda. So I still would have a difficult time. I mean, we could definitely put that as a line in the timeline, excuse me, but we wouldn't be able to select that person. Because we would have to put those names on there, so because that would violate the open meeting law. And so I'd be hesitant to do that. I think it's a great idea, but we still have to come back and vote that person into the interim position.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah. I wish I could have done it that way. That's a good idea. I do have a thought, President Woodley, that I'd like to share on the salary, only because we haven't approved above that 150 amount. Here's what I think we should do is if the board wants to do that, we can say the position starts at 150 because we've already approved at 150 and could be more based on criteria, that standard HR language. And then that will allow us to come back and vote on the budget and then allow us to come back and vote on the contract. So I would like to switch it that way if that works for the presuming that's what the majority of members want to do.
Thank you, Mr. Lombardo. I have some comments, but I'm going to go to Mr. Whipperman, please.
Not to complicate things here, Mr. Woodley, but this is to Mr. Lombardo and to Mr. Jackson. If we decide that we're going to, because Mr. Jackson said that they've already sat together and kind of dispersed the duties, is there a mechanism if we stick with that as opposed to an interim for responsibility pay for the staff after August 1st or whatever is Tim's last day? Does that exist? Is that something that has to be discussed and voted on? I don't know if that exists. So that's a question for Mr. Lombardo and Mr. Jackson potentially.
So you mean like a tap pay? You're selected to.
Correct, right? So if we decide that, hey, we think we're going to get this done quick enough, the staff can split the responsibilities, and we are giving them more responsibility. Is there a mechanism if we decide to go that route and we don't do an interim because we think we're going to get it done quickly enough? Is responsibility pay for those? Because I don't want to put more on people without potentially paying them. I don't even know if that mechanism exists in our bylaws, regs, the contract. I don't know. That's why that was my question.
I think Mr. Davis might have some information on this. I do not know the answer to that question.
Yeah, I figured it would be either Tim or potentially Bart may have something.
Mr. Whipperman and or President Woodley, if you would like, I can comment on this.
Yes, please, Mrs. Davis.
Okay, thank you. Bart Davis and I staff. I've been through a few of these now with searches for executive directors, and the last three have all been different. When Mr. Bonine left the NIA to go join a different association, at that time an interim was not named. Mr. Nelson and Mr. Biesmeyer were the assistant directors at that time. They both kind of absorbed in that time period what Mr. Bonine was doing. Mr. Bonine left in the winter, late winter, as I recall. And I do believe the board did offer those two gentlemen a bump in pay for that period of time. Now, I believe that did have to come back for a different meeting because it wasn't agendized that way. When then Mr. Thompson left, there was a 1-year period where Mr. Nelson was appointed the interim director. And Mr. Nelson had specified he wanted a full search to be done. So Mr. Nelson took the position for 1 year as an interim, and then we had the full search where Mr. Nelson was officially appointed by the board as its executive director. This last time when Mr. Jackson became our executive director, Mr. Nelson had announced his resignation far enough out that we were able to get somebody hired into that position before we needed an interim. Mr. Jackson seamlessly took over for Mr. Nelson. So going back to kind of answer that question, when it happened the last time was when we went from Mr. Bonine, had a time period before Mr. Thompson was hired, and that was divvied up between those two assistant directors. They were offered a bump in pay. I don't remember exactly what that amount was, but it could happen. It just, as Mr. Lombardo has mentioned, things are agendized certain ways, and I'm not the legal expert, but I don't believe that could happen today, but could happen down the road.
Okay, all right. Mr. Whipperman, are you good? Or did you have any follow-up, or can I move on? Okay, outstanding. Thank you. Mr. McNaught, Mr. Holmes, I saw your hand up. It's no longer up, but I'm going to go with Mr. McNaught right now.
I would happily yield to my esteemed superintendent colleague, or I guess not really colleague, but Superintendent Holmes, if you would like to speak. Okay. If I may, President Woodley, I would love to zoom in on just the process real quick, and maybe make a motion. Let's move this along a little bit. I think it is my opinion that we should have a committee. So Neil, I just have a question for you on how we can do the committee before I craft a motion, if President Woodley is okay with that. But Neil, a committee it would have to be an open meeting, but could we go into closed session to review applications? Would that be appropriate to keep it confidential? Because I mean, we want to keep it confidential. That's what we're saying here. We're going to keep it confidential, right?
Yeah, it would change that. Let me pull up the NRS that I was referencing earlier, but There are different opinions on this. I always take the opinion of being more conservative on the open meeting law. And so if you take a peek at NRS 241.031, it says that a person, except as otherwise provided in subsection 2, which is not relevant here, a public body shall not hold a closed meeting to consider the character, alleged misconduct, or professional competence of a person who's appointed as a public officer. This is a public officer, okay, or chief executive. Now, there is an interesting argument that people have made that says, well, the person's not appointed yet, so therefore you can have a closed meeting. The problem is if you look at 241.030 right above 031, it says that this chapter does not permit a closed meeting for the discussion of the appointment of any person to a public office or as a member of a public body. I think the subcommittee, oh, thanks for putting up the statutes. I didn't, I was looking, thank you. That was nice. That would have been more efficient. So my concern is I still think that, so let me step back just to give the open meeting law 101. NRS 241.030 is how you have closed meetings in Nevada, and they are for considering the character or competence, alleged misconduct of a person, and or sometimes mental or physical health is in there as well. That doesn't really apply here, but the mental or physical health obviously doesn't. But you are looking at somebody's professional competence. You are looking at their character. You are looking at potential misconduct, right? If you found something in the application. And that paragraph 4 specifically says you can't have a closed meeting. So I don't think you can go in executive session. I am aware of people opining differently. I just don't agree with them. I'm not going to say anybody's wrong because it hasn't been litigated. I do know that when I assisted in writing the manual many years ago under then Attorney General Sandoval, that 241.030 did not exist, but 241.031 did, and we opined that applied to applicants as well as those who were already appointed. So that's my opinion. Yeah,
that's fair. And I mean, I'm going to lean on that because you're the one that's going to have to defend us if we get sued on being wrong on this, right? So I'm definitely going to lean on that. So, and just a stupid question, 3 members, is that still is that a violation of open meeting law? If they were
but if you appoint 3 members, we have to comply with the open meeting law. There's still a subcommittee. Yeah.
Okay. So what I would maybe suggest then, I wonder if it would be appropriate for the initial screening, Neil, of you just to be if there's anything that would, I want to say embarrass a candidate, right? So you don't send that list to the committee and then the committee reviews the group of people to then decide who gets interviewed would be my opinion on that. And then we don't necessarily have to pull the full board together again for a meeting, and we can do 3, we can do 5 members, maybe 5 feels more appropriate, gives more opinions.
So if I understand you correctly, I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. If we have 5 or more, then you want it to go to a subcommittee to weed them out, and if it's 4 or less, just go straight to the board.
Oh, I meant the number of people on the committee.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
No, it's all good. I think that you receive the applications, you decide if there's anything in there that's oh, this shouldn't be in a public meeting, so we're going to weed this person out, whatever, right? And then we have a committee meeting to decide who we interview, and then we interview at our regularly scheduled board meeting. That would be my ask. President Woodley, I would make a motion to see if there's an interest in this, if you're okay with that.
I have a question, Colin, because what Mr. Rombardo just asked made me think as well. Do you have a cutoff? For example, if we only get 3 applicants, is your intent that would still go to a subcommittee, or is your intent that, hey, if we have 4 or more, let's do the subcommittee, but if we only have 3, let the HR director and legal go through those 3 and then give it to us in the board meeting so we can, because if we only have 2 or 3, do we need the subcommittee and then also come to the board? I mean, is that necessary?
I would say yes, and the only reason is because I don't want to waste someone's time interviewing if there's board members that, if we look at it as a board and we're like, this person wouldn't have a chance anyway, then it feels like a waste of time to then bring them to an interview for us to be like, no. So I wouldn't set a threshold because I don't even know what the right number would be. Is it 3? Is it 5? I don't know. Or is it 2? So my opinion on this would be that the process would be simply to our legal counsel for an initial screen, to the committee, to the interview, if that makes sense. So President Woodley, you want me to make a motion, or do you want to have continued discussion? Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum regarding the timeline with the following modifications. 1, that a committee will be established and will forward recommendations for candidates to interview to the board by September 9th. And 2, that the interviews will take place at the regularly scheduled board meeting on 9/22 to 9/23, including the deliberation. Does that make sense? Was that a clear motion?
It was. Mr. Rombato, do you have any?
I think I do.
Question.
I just have one question. So do you want the subcommittee to meet before September 9th so that they can then forward whoever made it through the subcommittee to the entire board? Did I understand that correctly?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that
I understand the motion.
I think that gives plenty of time to contact the candidates to let them get scheduled to come to the interview, right?
Sure.
Okay. And so the only changes in my motion are the parts about consultant review, background reference forward, it just simply would say September 9th. By this date, a committee as determined by the board will have met and made recommendations to send to the Board of Control.
It makes sense. Looking for a second?
Keith Whipperman, for the record, I second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Oh, Alex, I'm sorry. I didn't unmute fast enough. I'll support that.
Okay. Mr. Garza.
I have a question. We weren't asked previous to the motion made or to the vote, if we did have any questions or comments. Who's going to be on the committee? Who's going to appoint this committee?
President,
You'll have to, if this motion's approved, you'll have to appoint right now. And I highly recommend you appoint an odd number so we don't have the.
That was my intent. Yes. The next step would be now to appoint the committee. Yeah.
Right. That's what I was going to say next. Ms. Townsend, do you have your hand up? Okay. Just say, all right. Any opposed?
Oh, my hand's not up.
Okay. Seeing none. Motion passes. Okay. With that, let's stay on this. As Mr. Rombato stated, I do agree it has to be an odd number. I prefer 3. It just sounds like an easy number and easy consensus. So, do we have volunteers?
I would be interested. Greg Malkovich.
Okay. So Malkovich.
Holmes, I'd be interested.
And I would be happy. Somebody's got to rein in Dennis and Greg. So I mean,
All right, Mr. Rombato, we don't need to vote on identifying these 3. Is that correct?
I think you should, actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
I think you should.
Okay, so we have 3 names. Greg Malkovich, Mr. Holmes, and Mr. McNaught. So if I can get a motion.
Do you need a motion, Mr. Woodley?
Yes, sir.
I would like to make a motion that Mr. McNaught, Mr. Holmes, and Mr. Malkovich represent us on this search committee as the 3-member committee. Does that motion work?
Yes, Mr. Whipperman, thank you. I'm looking for a second. Who was that?
Jay Kenny.
Mr. Kenny. Mr. Kenny is our second. Okay. With that being said, all those in favor signify by aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Right, so we have that done.
President Woodley?
Yes, sir. McNaught, your hand is still up. Before I go, I'm sorry, was someone speaking?
This
Mr.
is
Holmes.
Dennis. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Point of clarification for Mr. Rombardo. Understanding the legal world a little bit. I have not concerns, but I just want to make sure that we're you hate to even use the word fair, but being fair with him. I just know in the screening process of the applicants, using the rubric and scoring and whatnot could be very cumbersome in timing. And I just want to make sure that, out of the scope of his time, that if there's compensation, that it's taken care of. I know it takes a lot of time, and I know that it's a little bit more than just looking at 6 or 7 names and going, yeah, this person passes or not. With rubrics and what that are involved, just want to make sure that we're treating council appropriately. Thank you.
Right. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Holmes. Mr. McNaught, I see your hand is still up. I think you had something else. I have some things here as well, but
Yes,
stick with you.
I will. I was ready to go to the application, so I will yield to you and Mrs. Sparza. If you want to then come to me after, I'll stay in the queue.
Okay, and I'm looking for Mrs. Sparza. Oh, there she is.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Yes.
So I kind of always like to look at like what is historically happened. I know we already did the motion to have the committee review, but historically, how many applicants have we had? Like, I mean, I don't know that the number does kind of matter if you're thinking about any type of compensation for anybody. Because if we only had 2 applicants, I don't see that being, a lot of time.
Mr. Davis?
Yeah, thank you, President Woodley. As the de facto historian now, Bart Davis and I staff, we've lost a couple of our board members who've been through a few of these because they both chose to retire on some ironic timing. For this last time when Mr. Jackson was hired, as was mentioned, we had just the 2 applicants, and both of those gentlemen were brought in to interview in front of the board. The previous time before that, we actually had 4 people who were interviewed at the board meeting. I was not privy to the total number of applicants, but from what I was able to glean from that, there were more than 4. When it came time to hire Mr. Thompson, as I said, that kind of went through a little bit of a different process as well. Really, it's kind of hard to say what we're going to get now with the changing landscape of the NIA and opening the search up more national, depending on how it's advertised. That could also lead to more applicants. This last time, if we go by the last time, there were only 2, but I would really hesitate to just go by the last search. I would hope from my end and from what we see nationally, somewhere in the ballpark of 5 to 10, I would hope, but that might be optimistic.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Okay, we're going to go back to Mr. McNaught.
President Woodley meeting, I'm ready to move it along, sir. Be efficient. I would comment on that just to say that I think the salary is a huge part of this conversation that will determine the number of applicants that we receive, because I do agree that we need to raise this salary. So I would love to talk just briefly, and then we can have discussion, or we can motion, or whatever. About the announcement of vacancy now. I do agree with a lot of the things that Mr. Rombardo said. Like, I personally think we can strike the application. I think we can strike the copies of the transcripts. I think a cover letter, a resume, and letters of recommendation, I think, is a strong group of 3 things that we would need. And then, of course, if they're certified MMA or CMA, I don't know, whatever the phrasing is, they can include those as well. So I would be supportive of, I think, everything on here. with the modification of the salary, I honestly would put the salary in the range of 180 to 200. I think that's an attractive number that will get a good amount of applicants that we need in this kind of a position. I mean, this is a superintendent level position, in my opinion. No offense, Superintendent Holmes, if you strongly disagree with me on that, we can do that. But I do think that, I mean, thinking of the scope, and it's the entire state, and so I do think we should entertain that. I'm ready to make a motion when you are.
Okay, so this is what I had a comment on, so I'll take a point of privilege as the president running the meeting. With regards to the salary, I do agree that we should look at the salary, but I also agree that we need to take this comprehensive look because we are talking about an organization, and no one ever wants to be in an organization where leaders or leadership says, let's just look at one particular person's salary and let's just increase that one significantly. I just want us all to keep in our mind and looking at these salaries for NIAA as a whole comprehensively, especially if we're going to make such a significant jump like this. My personal opinion, I do think it's a good idea that we start with the 150 because of the fact that the budget was passed. I have seen job announcements for executive roles where they state starting at 150, compensation is currently under review, something to that effect. I don't know, when are we having the next budget meeting? Does anyone know from staff? Is the next time we're going to have the budget on the agenda?
I can jump in on that if you'd like, Mr. President Woodley. The budget's generally reviewed in some fashion at pretty much every meeting.
Agenda.
Mr. Jackson, if you want to take that over, go ahead.
Yeah, it would be on the September agenda, Mr. Woodley.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is on the September agenda. Okay, well then that's great. That looks good. So Mr. McNaught, I'm going to go ahead and go back to you, throw it back in your court. And I've made my statement. I'm sure other people may have comments on that, but I just want to make sure that we think of that comprehensively. But let's take a first bite at the apple and see what you want to present us with.
I agree with you, sir. I do hear you on that. I wonder if 150 on the application is attractive enough to get the person that we need for the job. That's where my head is at with this. Okay, so if I may, I would like to make a motion to approve the announcement of vacancy with the following modifications. First, to indicate the salary range at 180 to 200,000. And second, on the application procedures to strike number 2, which is the completed application form, and number 5, which is the copies of the transcript, which would also strike the highlighted part that says an application can be obtained by visiting, because we wouldn't need that.
Okay. Before I go to a second, if I may, Mr. Rombardo, if you can please give us any comment or input on that motion.
Yeah, again, I think we definitely need to come back and approve the budget before we make the offer to the position, because this does exceed what we've approved. But again, it's a posting, and that's part of the process. We just can't defraud people and get people to apply and then not agree that we're going to change the budget next time. So we do need to bring it back and vote on the budget. I'm fine with removing the completed application as I suggested, or at a minimum, trimming it back. I know Mr. Whipperman said he liked it. I think some others had mentioned that they kind of liked the idea of it. I really think transcripts are kind of ridiculous. I'll share a personal story. I had, and I know this is anecdotal, but I think it kind of strikes home with this. I had been a senior AG, deputy DA, a senior deputy DA. I was the elected DA. And when I applied at the Washoe County School District, they required me to go find my transcripts. Well, I had been graduated for over 20 plus years. That was a lot of work. So I think that's the type of professionals we're looking for. So the transcript thing, I mean, I give you my own personal opinion on that one. But
sure,
there you go. So those are my thoughts on it. I know you asked, so those are my thoughts.
Well, Mr. Rombardo, Sorry, would it be appropriate what if I modified the motion to be a range at a minimum 150, not to exceed 200,000?
I I like that better personally because I think we've already approved a budget of 150 and now it makes it easier for us to come back.
But it puts out in the world that we are willing to go like pretty
Yeah.
significantly higher than that if budget allows us, right?
Depending on qualifications, I think we should always have that language in there.
Okay, so
Because we
President,
shouldn't expect somebody to come in at 200 unless they are,
Sure.
you know, extremely qualified.
Sure. So yeah, President Willie, I would make the modification on my motion to say I'll approve the announcement of vacancy with the following changes to be the salary to say a minimum of 150,000, not to exceed 200,000, and in the application procedure striking number 2, number 5, and the highlighted portion of an application can be obtained by.
I like that. Thank you, Mr. McGinnis, because that's much more palatable for me because I was looking at a 50% increase just on the salary itself, just the base. So that sounds great. Going 150 to 200. Thank you for that. Mr. Whipperman, I see your hand up, but I'm looking for a second. I don't know, is this something you want to discuss before a second or?
Yes, I just wanted to ask Mr. Rombardo, I mean, would we be violating any kind of rule of open meeting law or because it's not on the agenda to at least discuss budget, at least discuss if as a group, is there someone who is wholly opposed to this kind of jump in salary that might at least put us in a place where at least we know where we sit opinion wise, or am I getting on that blurry line of discussing something that wasn't on the agenda because budget's not on the agenda?
I don't think it's that blurry. In my mind, the announcement, I'm asking, I need a vote from my board. You're the guys who hire this person.
No, I'm speaking to your point about, someone worried about a switcheroo, right? Right. At the next meeting, now we come back and go, nope, just kidding. That's
Right.
what I'm worried about. So that's why I was asking, could we have that discussion without violating
Well,
open meeting?
there's 2 steps on this. I think if you approve 150 to 200, it's a lot safer because we can offer 150 because we know that's already built into the budget, right? And if we say it's depending on qualifications, then that's going to be part of the negotiations. I do think you can discuss it here from the perspective of, are we comfortable with that range for the not superintendent, but the executive director?
Right.
Beyond that, I think you need to be very careful about going into any other budget items. For example, if we raise the position to this 150 to 200 number, what do we have to cut? And then start talking about cuts, right? You can't do that. So does that make sense?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Understood.
Yeah.
And I guess that was my question, Mr. Woodley, was just if you wanted to open up to see if there was any major concerns from board members about potentially Mr. McNaugh's suggestion of going 150 to 200.
Well, that's what I was going to do. I was going to wait to get my second and then open it up for discussion. Any comments?
Then I will make a second because I put this in the chat and I shouldn't have put it in the chat. Thank you, Mr. Mr. Davis. I am okay with that, with foregoing the application, as I was the one that brought up the application. So let me say publicly, I'm okay with foregoing the application, and I will provide you with a second to Mr. McNaugh's suggestion. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Whipperman. Okay, based on Mr. Whipperman's comments, I want to open for any discussion on this first and second. Seeing no hands, I will call for the vote.
I do actually, Alex, I do. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
So having gone through, searches before this year, this compensation, I just have a little bit of hesitation with, I want to go with Neil's comment about, did you say the language before you recommended was to say that it, would be starting at 150 and there could be possible discussion for further increase based on voting member or whatever, how the language would be appropriate for legal. I'm concerned. I don't want anyone to think, because what if we don't, based on their qualifications, go any higher than 150? I don't want it to be misleading for people to think well, that's just the starting point, and I thought I could negotiate it higher. That I think that is a point of consideration that someone could come in and say, I'm going to negotiate for something higher beyond the 150. So I just want to put that out there as maybe considering that could be a potential, would that potentially be considered now?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. As I suggested earlier, and I do want to be very clear, I appreciate where Mr. McNaught and Mr. Whipperman and really the entire board, from what I can tell, is coming from. The cleanest, because we've already approved the budget up to 150, is to say 150 and potentially more based off of qualifications. I'd come up with cleaner language than that, but I think you get the general gist. That is the cleanest way for us to do it, because you're not committing anything down the road on your budget discussion in September. That being said, this issue is but I do think we are defensible from the perspective, if I'm understanding your concern correctly, I do think we are defensible saying this 150 to 200 number from the perspective of we're looking for an announcement. You just have to recognize that down the road, you're going to have to be willing to explore that. So but that's the cleanest way. You are absolutely correct.
Yeah. As a new member, I just have reservation for it. So I don't know if the maker would amend the motion for that little bit more of a openness for consideration to increase based on a person's qualifications versus it being, because when they see that 200,000, that's a negotiation tool, I feel, and it happened for us as a district, in our search for superintendency. And we had, I don't know, like, of course, it was a different role, more than 60 applicants. I don't think that's going to be, that will not happen here. So anyways, I just wanted to throw that in as a new member and past experience. So thank you for that.
Under the rules of parliamentary procedure, she can make a friendly motion and see if it's accepted by Mr. McNaught, if you're interested, or you could make your own motion to amend, or you can just leave it as a conversation. It's up to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lombardo. We have some other hands up, so I want to get this input as well before we return to Mr. McNaught. Mr. Henneman?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Woodley. Ms. Lombardo, thanks for putting this all together.
You bet.
But I know we already voted on this about like the search committee. When I just heard that voting members on the search committee, I think that could be a conflict of interest because they're the ones that are going to be interviewing the potential candidates. And so they already have their own set of agendas before the interview process going in. I remember last time we did it, there was a group of liaisons that were on the search committee that didn't have a vote, but still like on the board. But so they didn't have a vote. And also, remember we signed something and said like we would not talk about any candidates, anybody that put in an application or anything to anyone with that last time. So that's just the only concern I have is having voting members on the search committee, because now they have like a head start and info on everybody before they go in for their interview.
I think that's an excellent point, Mr. Henneman. I think from the rules of parliamentary procedure, if President Woodley wants to open that issue back up after we finish this issue, that would be at his discretion. I don't think it's a violation of law, but I do get your point. But nevertheless, I think from the rules of parliamentary procedure, we should. My recommendation to you, Mr. President, is that you continue down this road, and then if you want to reopen that to have the board discuss that, you can do that.
Thank you, Mr. Henneman. Okay, we're going to go back to Mr. McNaught.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I do see your point on like not necessarily, the 200. I worry that if we don't say that we're willing to go pretty high here, then we're not going to get the right person to apply. That's my concern. I don't want to say a minimum of 150 and have somebody, and say like we could go higher and then have somebody come in and we're like 152, and then it's like, oh, well, that I think my opinion on it is that in that negotiation process, right, like they will come back with whoever we select will come back and say, I want to be at this number. And then we say, well, we think based on your qualifications, because Neil's going to write it in such a way that says like, based on qualification. I was just setting a ceiling for us is my idea, and an attractive ceiling, nonetheless, for like applicants. So that would be my opinion on it. I would leave the motion as is. I don't think it will create complications, but if it doesn't pass, then we can put another one forward.
I'm back. Yeah, and I think it is a negotiation, so it takes two parties. So we both have to agree at some point. I'm not going to give any insight or opinion of where my map would be. But that is a negotiation. So with that being said, we have a second. So let's go ahead and send it out for a vote. I don't see any more hands. I don't think we need to restate the motion. Ms. Wonder, correct? You have it on record? Okay, outstanding. All right. So we have a first. Okay, thank you. So we have a first and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
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 Would we like a roll call vote at this time?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. For the motion on the table, Alex Woodley, yea or nay?
Aye.
Greg Malkovich.
You muted yourself, Greg.
I'm gonna circle back to Greg because I didn't understand. Chad Hartley.
Yes.
Ramona Esparza.
Nay.
Jay Kenny.
No.
Colin McNaught.
Yes.
Christina Brockett.
To clarify, is it for the 180 to 200 or 150 plus?
It was the 150 not to exceed 200.
Yay.
Oh, yeah, hold on. Yeah, we start.
Lori Woodland.
Opposed?
Brian Freeman is absentee, I see still. Rand Sorensen
Nay.
and Keith Whipperman.
Yay.
Okay, so I've 4 nay,
We need to go back to Mr. Malkovich.
and yes, Mr. Malkovich.
You get me? Yes.
Yes, okay. So 4 nay, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor, motion passes.
Okay. So we have the vacancy announcement. We have use of application, salary, and last item we have. Oh, Mr. McNaught.
Go ahead. I might have been bringing
Oh,
up
no.
the same thing you were going to do.
The last item I have here listed for consideration is the interim.
Yeah, that was what I was going to bring up. I think we probably, what would be the correct process here, Neil? Do we need to set a meeting in a future date? And then how do we decide which names we're considering for this?
Well, interims come from internal, most of the time. So I would presume that whatever staff members would be interested in being the interim would, put in their, name. And then we could also, at that same meeting, do a tap pay to resolve I believe it was Mr. Whipperman's concern. Tap pay, for those of you who don't know, that's what we called it at the last two positions I had, is if somebody goes up for a position that's higher ranked, they get compensated for that during the time that they hold that position. And then when the position is appointed, they would go back down. So what I would recommend is that if we want to do that, we should do another special meeting. I'm sorry, board members, just kind of is what it is. We would do it, probably should do it before Mr. Jackson leaves, and we should just do a quick meeting. We could ask the folks, who work for the NIAA to let us know who wants to put their name on the agenda. And then I think you all have experience with them. I don't know if you would want to we could ask them to turn in a resume. I think the process that we've laid out today would be a little ridiculous for an interim, in my opinion.
Okay.
That would be my thoughts on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And what I heard you say, though, is if they are interested in applying for the executive director job, you do not think they should serve in the interim role, or no?
I don't think that's fair. It puts them in the spot of finishing up. In the past, I've always suggested to my boards that those who are interested not do the interim role. And boards have always accepted that advice.
Sure. I get it. I would agree with you. I think that's a good thought. So then my follow-up question to that is, A, what if no staff is interested, right? Or B, what if we as a board are not interested in the staff member that says they want to do it? So is this something where we should solicit in the public? I don't know.
But if I may, Mr. McNaught, I think we should have the discussion here as a board. I mean, that's what we had this meeting for, the special meeting. So I'm going to start, if you don't mind, Mr. McNaught, I'm going to share my personal opinion just from my life experiences and professional experience. Typically in an organization, the individual that has the role right under the executive role typically would be the person that automatically becomes the interim. So if you have a director, the assistant director should be the interim. That's the normal process. Now, having known that, if I understand correctly, I think we only have one position that is under in that chain of command, so to speak. And I don't know that individual. Actually, Mr. Jackson, can you please? Yes, thank you. Can you provide input?
All three of them are assistant directors by
Thank you. Okay, and that makes sense. Now that makes it easier. Okay, so all three. So yeah, I guess it would be up to those three. Or we could another option would be to ask the existing director who they would recommend. I mean, that's another option. Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with your last thought there. I think it would, in my opinion, be fair to ask the current director for a recommendation and move from that point. Thank you.
Yes, I would agree with that as well. And insofar as trying to find someone from the outside would be, I think, not valuable at all, because they wouldn't have any information or any background to help them with any decisions or any work that would be done in the next couple months. And I think we've got to look at this as only maybe 6 weeks. And so, why go into all of that? I think it's best that the executive director just appoints someone.
Mr. McNaught?
I mean, agreed that I don't think that it's necessarily something that it's a short time. My concern or my question is, what if all three of them want this job? Then what? I think that's the question I have as to what the process is going to look like, because I don't want one of them to. I agree with Mr. Rombardo. I think it creates a weird situation if you apply and you're the interim. I mean, sometimes that's normal. Sometimes that's a normal part of the process, but sometimes it's not, right? And so I just want to make sure we are clear right now of like how we want this to be set up. You know, and do we just want a broad who's interested and maybe one of them puts their name on it and that's the one we consider, as opposed to just saying like we're only going to select from the staff and the whole staff wants this job. So then that's awkward. Who's going to take this? And then we're back here again at another meeting deciding how we're going to fill it because nobody said they were interested. You know, so that's my question here. I think I would be open to just like we go a week or two and anyone who is interested can like submit it and then we have a list of names at the next meeting and we pick one. And it could be people from the staff, it could not be, right? We're not looking for somebody to come in, change procedures, change policies, do anything other than just like follow the rules and work with the staff. And so I'm just throwing it out there that I want to make sure that we do this the right way, and we don't hurt the current staff's ability to apply for the job.
Mr. Jackson, could we get your input on this? Because I understand you stated that duties have been divided.
Sorry, having technical issues here. Yeah, so when we met, when I informed the staff on Monday back in June that I was going to tender my resignation, I decided at that point that the one thing I didn't want to have happen was anything fall through the cracks and not get completed. So the staff has their job duty descriptions. We're making sure that all things are taken care of. We've made sure that all duties can be completed. Duties that would fall to the executive director specifically can be handled by current staff in the short term. I have confidence that they can do that. What my opinion is worth is regardless. I think what I am hearing though is this. One, if the staff wants to be the interim, they're pulling themselves directly from the consideration for the executive director position. Therefore, I will not make a recommendation without having talked to them first, because I don't want to negate their ability to apply for a job. Secondly, I don't know whether or not that interim position needs to be filled in the short term, if it can wait, or if it needs to be done at all, simply because the past precedent of our staff has been everyone has their duties, everyone does their jobs. The bigger issue then becomes any issues that arise during that time period where a final decision needs to be made that maybe doesn't fall under the umbrella of one of them. So I think that would be the biggest concern I would have there. That being said, I have the utmost confidence in the staff to do their jobs.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Ms. Townsend, looks like you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Woodley. Ellen Townsend, coordinator of officials. If it's possible at all, just to maybe think about the bump up, you know, if the duties are going to be spread across the 3 assistant directors, maybe they all receive an equal bump up. And I'm sure the 3 of them, I'm pretty confident in them in the next 3 months or 2.5 or whatever it takes. They're able to work together right now to come to decisions. They could all 3 get together if it was something that was necessary that the executive director actually make a decision. I'm sure all 3 of them could come together and work out an equitable decision no matter what it would be. There's 3 of them, so it would always be a 2-to-1 or something like that. So it's odd, you know, in case they had to vote on it. But I think all 3 of them, if they're all now getting extra duties, you know, could get some sort of equal bump up. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Townsend. That's actually something I was thinking as well. We are going to have salary savings, obviously, with the vacant position. And if the director has already spoken to all 3 of them and all 3 of them had divided authority, I don't see why we couldn't do that. Typically, from my experiences on my own personal experience, interim or acting positions typically have a 10 up to 15% pay bump. We're talking about 6 weeks, maybe 2 months at the most. So, me personally, I think that that would be reasonable if we did a 10% bump on all three. And then that way we don't have the issue of any one particular individual that may impact their ability to apply. And that they would all have the same equal opportunity to actually apply for the job. Mr. McNaught, I know you brought up the discussion, so if I can get your thoughts on that, or if you have any other thoughts.
It looks like Mr. Lombardo wants to comment. Are you gonna go ahead, Neil?
Mr. Lombardo.
So let me jump in real quick, President Woodley. I just want to be clear. We can't make a decision related to the TAP pay in this meeting. It's not on the agenda. So I want to be really careful on what we're doing here. I look, I think it is the fair idea, but we just can't do it. So
thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate
yeah.
that. And keep us honest. Thank you. We need that. Please don't hesitate. So with that being said, that would actually have to be something that we would put on an agenda. Is that correct? On a special meeting?
Yes.
So,
yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to go back to Mr. McNaught to get your thoughts, since it appears you and I have been discussing this the most here. Unless anyone else wants to raise their hand, but I'm going to go back to Mr. McNaught.
Sure. Yeah. I think, especially it's the beginning of the school year, lots of things going on. I think there needs to be somebody who is the decision maker, if you will. That would be my opinion. I don't know that I love the idea of like the three of them being in a position where they have to like get in a room and vote together and then like come out and say the executive director committee has decided this, like, I don't know what that looks like. I think precedent tradition should have some sort of interim executive director, and I think we should just open up to anyone interested. Maybe we'll have past people who have done the role before who are willing to come back and help us for a period of time. Maybe past board members will be interested who know that, so like we don't have to necessarily pick somebody who has no idea about the NIAA, but we may have a name who submits themselves who's interested for a short period of time to bridge this gap, who understands our organization. So it would be my opinion that we do some sort of process where, by next Friday, we have people who have submitted to you, President Woodley, maybe, and executive and legal counsel, like an email saying I am interested in serving in this role, and like provide maybe a resume. And then we meet the following week, which would be like 3 weeks from now, and we have a list of names. It's a public meeting. Everyone can see the names, and then we just have discussion and appoint an interim for 6 weeks, whatever that is. That would be my opinion.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McNaught. Mr. Whipperman, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing as Mr. McNaught. Although I have full faith in the group, I think having to have someone be the public face of, I have to respond to. Here's the public response coming from whoever that is. Someone has to be that public face, signing the letter, doing the notification. I believe there needs to be at least one. Again, whether we make them interim, again, I don't want to Mr. Lombardo's point and to Mr. Jackson's, I do not want to keep someone out of the running if they're interested, nor do I want to put them on the spot right now. But at the same time, I think there needs to be a head person who's like, okay, I'm going to be the talking head for this was the decision that was made. This is my name goes on the letter that goes out. That's what I think, even if we're comfortable saying that they're going to split those duties and we do give them, I think you said TAP is what you said, Mr. Roberto. I feel comfortable giving them TAP, but I think there needs to be someone who's kind of the head cheese making those decisions. I hope that makes sense. Thank you, Mr. Woodley.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Whipperman. Okay, with that, we're looking at 2 hours now. So, Mr. Whipperman, since your hand looks like it's still up, can you give us a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. What am I motioning right? I'm sorry.
I was trying to give Mr. McNaught a break, but I'm gonna go back to him.
I'll do it.
Sorry. I didn't know. I lost the motion in the conversation. I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. I got you off guard.
Okay, so I will make a motion to open up a short search for an interim executive director of the NIAA. The process would be that any interested applicants would email the president of the Board of Control as well as legal counsel a letter of interest, or an email of interest attached with a resume, due by next Friday, which is
July 24th.
sorry, July 24th. Yeah. And then that we would have a special meeting to be determined by the president the week of the 27th to appoint an interim director starting on August 2nd. How was that? That was good?
That sounds clear. That sounded good. I'm looking for a second motion. I'm sorry, a second on the motion.
Rayanne Sorensen, I second.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Sorensen is our second. Our first is Mr. McNutt. I almost started speaking Spanish there. Sorry about that. Okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously.
And
Thank you very much.
if I could just make a request that we
Yes,
post
Mr. McNutt.
we post this as like some sort of press release from the current executive director, I guess, on the website, maybe is the best way to do that. Maybe people have better ideas, but Mr. Lombardo, if I could add our agenda, like just a question, for this agenda, I think we need to have both the question of appointment as well as a budgetary discussion for whatever that temporary salary looks like, right? So would it be appropriate to request the financials at that conversation as well, so that we can, in a public meeting, look at the budget and see how much we have to do that?
Yeah, I think it would be built into the, I think it would be appropriate to provide the budget information and where we're at to see what you can afford approving on the budget. I think it would be a little disingenuous to do a whole budget meeting at a special meeting, because the public is presuming, the standard protocol, as Mr. Jackson pointed out, is that we do this and you and I emailed about this, right? You have certain standard things, you want to meet that. So we do that in September, but I think you have to discuss the budget related to the TAP pay, if you will, or if you were to appoint somebody from the outside, the interim pay. And I was going to ask the question, and so I'm glad you clarified, but maybe the board should vote on this, is in my mind, the only way we can do a recruitment for this, if you will, for lack of a better phrase, is we're just going to post it on the website. I don't know what else we can, and maybe a press release, but
yeah,
I can't do this and do the other stuff I'm trying to do. I know Mr. Jackson's probably trying to close a lot of books. So maybe if the board can just vote to approve that is all we're going to do, that would be nice to have. That would be a suggestion.
That's a good suggestion. Keep it clear, precise, and to the point. We don't need to do anything much more than that. And we are talking about an interim situation. I see we have Mr. Hartley. Your hand is up.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick question on that. If we are going to, do we need to notify that those who would be considered for the interim position would not be considered for the full-time position at the end? And is it legal to do so?
Well, it's probably legal, but I don't think you necessarily need to put that on there. We've said it here in the meeting. If somebody wants this position, they should be watching these meetings. I mean, that's kind of always been my theory. If you don't know what these boards are talking about, that's on you, and you can be held accountable for that, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure Trustee Woodley, I'm sure before you became a trustee and got appointed, you watched a bunch of meetings to figure out where things were at, right? Yeah. I mean, that's how we all do it, right? So, yeah.
Absolutely not. I agree. That's a good point. But what we're talking about is doing a motion stating exactly what is expected, put it on the website, and that's it. That's the extent. We don't need to do much more of anything else. I don't even know that we need to do a press release. I don't want a whole bunch of yahoos coming for 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. So, see if we can get a motion. Oh, Mr. McNutt.
I'm just trying to move the meeting for you, sir. So I think it's a motion to direct.
Thank you.
right, Mr. Lombardo? Like this is where we need to, yeah. So I would make a motion to direct the executive director to post, to write a press release regarding this and post it on the website, just with the process. And again, the process is to email an email interest attached resume to the president and legal counsel.
July 24th.
Yes, due by July 24th at 5 p.m.
Second, Mr.
Right.
Mr. Whitman for the record. Second.
Yes.
Who was the
When you were the
second?
second.
State your name for me, please.
Sorry, Tia. Keith Whitman for the record. Second.
Thank you, Tia. So we do have a first and a second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, that seems to cover everything that I wrote, unless I missed anything. Seems like we covered everything, Mr. Lombardo, that you presented on. My assumption correct?
Yes, sir. You covered everything and a little bit more, but that's okay. I think we've got it.
Thank you. Okay, so it looks like let's move forward. Looks like we've covered number 6. So we're gonna go on to item number 7, public comment.
This time provides an opportunity for citizens to address the board about any matter not on the agenda. Items raised during this portion of the agenda cannot be deliberated or acted upon until the notice of procedures of the open meeting law have been complied with. Should a member of the public wish to speak on a matter not listed on the agenda, it is asked that said person please complete a yellow public comment card and submit it to the president before the opening of this item. A limit of 3 minutes per person and/or 5 minutes for the spokesperson of a particular group may be imposed. It is requested that comments be directed to the board as a whole. Comments that are determined to be irrelevant, repetitious, offensive, inflammatory, willfully destructive, or deemed to be personal attacks will not be permitted. At this time, there is still no one in the office, and I do not have any emails regarding public comment.
All right, Annie, thank you, Ms. Wonder. Having seen that we're done with item number 7, item number 8 is adjourning the meeting at 12:01. Thank you, everyone, and participating. This was some good conversation, and I think we've got the direction forward.